Hey everybody, welcome back. It's been a pretty interesting day, all things considered. Let's get into it. So, it all started around 10:20 a.m. When I woke up in the morning. I overheard my mom talking with someone who seemed to be paying a visit and dropping something off, and then they left. I got up to see what was going on, and my mom stopped by and told me, "Hey, Noah, there's a new shelf that we just got. Come help me lift it and carry it to this location." And keep in mind, I just woke up, so I was feeling really tired and groggy, and I didn't feel like I wanted to. Hold on one second, I'm afraid that the phone might run out of battery in the middle of recording. There we go. Okay, so anywho, I was afraid, well, yeah, I was gonna run out. Moving on. So I was really groggy, I was really tired. I didn't want to do that yet. I wanted to acclimate to the day first by drinking some water and putting on my socks and shoes so I could help out. So I told her that I would like to get hydrated and put on my socks and shoes before doing that, and she said okay. So I did it, and then afterwards I went outside to lift this thing into the house. I helped her out, and then our family friend said that she would be making breakfast for all three of us. She uh, I asked if she needed any help, and she said, "No, I'm fine." But when I went to take out the trash and throw it away, she did say, "Actually, could you help me with shredding the cheddar cheese because we're going to have bacon and egg burritos?" So I was like, "Sure." So when I was done taking out the kitchen trash and refilling another bag in, I shredded some cheddar cheese. After the cheese was shredded and ready to go, the burritos were good. She made two for me, one for her, and one for my mom. Because when she asked me and my mom, I said two, and my mom said one, and I suppose she wanted one. So we had that along with bacon in there, and we ate together. We enjoyed each other's company. It was a pretty good time, and I brewed a cup of coffee, and I had that with my food. Now, eventually, our family friend decided to go back into their room, um, and my mom asked me to come outside to see if I could help with something, and so I went outside to see what she was talking about. And she said that she had opened a lockbox for the lawnmower that stopped working, because she read online that perhaps the lawnmower was not turning on because the lockbox inside was dusty. So she decided to open the lockbox and clean it inside, and then reassemble it to see if that might help it by turning on. Sadly, she was having trouble figuring out where the components would go back into the box. And so it was just a mess of different cables and things that made it really difficult to know exactly where to put everything back together. It was honestly a extremely complicated looking situation that was really tough to get at grips with. We tried taking pictures of the lockbox along with the different components that we didn't know where they would go. We tried sending them to Claude 4.6 as well, Opus, as well as Google's Gemini and ChatGPT to try to get an understanding what exactly to do. And while their written instructions were sounded sound, it was hard to really visualize because, well, the way it described how to put everything back together was so unclear. And the worst part was we asked them, is there any schematics or any way of like knowing how to access, you know, a visual guide? And sadly, all of them said there was no visual guide available for fixing the lockbox of this particular lawnmower, which is terrible because, you know, it makes it extremely difficult to figure it out. So I was just mentally exhausted from all this. So I decided to scoop 4 scoops of cookies and cream ice cream, and then 3 scoops of Neapolitan, and have a cup of coffee and watch a Dan Dingle video where he and 2 other buddies of his were making really dumb, silly AI videos. And that was basically just my decompress, relax time because the whole situation was honestly driving me up a wall because I didn't really know what exactly to do or how to address the situation. It was bugging me a lot. So after that was done with watching the video and eating the ice cream, I realized that my time to leave for work was approaching, so I told my mom that I would be taking a shower. She said, all right. And she was showing me her progress as her trying to figure it out as I was about to go and take my shower. And well, it seemed like there were elements that made sense about what she was showing me overall. It was just a mess that was really hard to parse. Honestly, probably one of the most stressful situations to wake up and work on because there was no plan, there was no designated understanding. It was just, here's a mess and fix it, even though there's seemingly no way to fix it, you know. It's crazy. But anyways, I took my shower. I put on my deodorant, my moisturizer, my work clothes, and I said goodbye to my mom, told her that I love her, and I went off to work. I couldn't say goodbye to our family friend because our family friend had already left to go see the doctor. So I drove off to work. When I arrived, I immediately checked the schedule. I found out that I was working from 3 to 11 for sweeps for the entire day. So I just got straight to work. I sweeped produce, I sweeped the break room, I sweeped the entire storefront. I would help customers find items they would need. And sometimes I would help bag for the customers every now and then. And I would punch my sweeps in on time to the best of my abilities. And then I would get started on some closing duties like bringing bags up to the front and refilling the check stands. Now, what did I do my first break when that arrived? Well, I did something that was unusual. I decided to drive up to the nearest gas station at my job and fill up because my gas was running low. And I wasn't really aware of how that whole conflict in the Middle East with Iran and Hormuz was going to affect how oil and gas was running here until the price stared me in the face. $5.41 a gallon, which is an entire $1.20 higher than it was last month when I got gas, which meant that in order for me to fill up my gas tank to its fullest amount, I had to pay an extra $5, which is pretty bad because I specifically budgeted spending to only be $35 a month to ensure that I would stay within a certain budget target. So now this whole $5 thing is eating into my funds, which is really bad. And then on top of that, yesterday, for whatever reason, my payment method for my phone service dropped out, and I had to resubscribe again, which meant that my $5 minusing for the month wasn't applied, which means I paid the full $40 amount. Now I could totally go and call my phone service and tell them what happened, which I did have done in the past and I have got my money back. But it's weird that it keeps on happening like every now and then. Why does the auto pay method keep on dropping out? Like, what's going on there? That seems kind of weird. But anywho, yeah, it's pretty weird and crazy situation, and gotta be honest, I'm not a fan of it. But anywho, eventually I had my gas topped off. I drove back to work. I refilled my water canteen, and then I went back to do my duties, which, you know, sweeps, bathroom checks, bagging, the whole lot. Before eventually I punched out for lunch, and I decided to eat out today. I went to a nearby Burger King. I had the Texas Double Whopper because I was feeling in the mood for a double cheeseburger with lettuce and tomatoes and onions and all that, and that sounded good to me. So I got that with a large fry and a Coke Zero beverage. And it tasted pretty good. Really no complaints about it. And as I was eating, I was watching a Red Letter Media video where Jay Bauman was playing trivia with Mike, Rich Evans, and one of their guests that I'm forgetting the name of right now. And basically, he was going through different Star Wars related trivia questions to see who would ultimately be the winner. It's very funny at the beginning, where originally when they do these trivia shows, they always give like 100 points per person whenever they get an answer right. But then Rich Evans had to chime in and say, why do we always do 100 points? Why not just make it 1? And then Jay Bauman humored Rich Evans, said, okay, we're going to do 1, but it's going to be less exciting. You get 1 point. And when they actually enacted on that, after Rich Evans mentioned it, that was really funny. I thought that was hilarious. Yeah, good show. I haven't finished the episode yet because around the 15-minute mark, I needed to return to work, so I had to leave. I did get a little bit of Coke Zero along with a little bit of regular Dr. Pepper mixed in there because I like the way Dr. Pepper tastes. And I went off and went back to work. And when I returned to work, I took out the trashes. I cleaned check stand 8, 7, 4, and 3. I made sure all the bags were properly refilled. I closed the produce blinds. I told my one of my coworkers as well as one of my co-managers about possibly donating plasma to meet certain financial expectations for the month, which was pretty interesting. I was really passionate about that, I remember. And I just tried punching everything on time, bagged for customers. I had some fun interactions with certain customers. Any interactions worth mentioning? Well, there was one where there was a lady who said she believes she had the ability to read minds, and I said, "Oh, so you're telepathic? Does that mean that you're part alien, human hybrid?" And they were like, "Yep, that's me." And I said, "Ooh, are you hyped for 2027 when the supposedly the crafts will end?" And then they said, "Yep, I'm ready to touch down back with home base." And I did it in a really reverent and humorous manner. And yeah, that was pretty funny. Um, what else? There was like two dudes who were taking themselves super seriously, and I remember trying to like say a joke, and they seemed very unamused. um, and yeah, it was they were so unamused to the point where the next customer who came up after them like said they were like surprised how they weren't really playing along with the humor. And I was like, yeah, I guess some people like taking themselves really seriously. So yeah. Um, and yeah, pretty much it. The last thing I did was I wiped down the check stands before punching out, saying goodbye to my co-boss and one of my coworkers. And then I went into my car. I put on an Area 52. I continued listening to the one done by the Canadian UFO researcher, and I drove off home. Um, I guess the most interesting thing I remember about the Canadian UFO researcher was just how fast and passionate he was talking about what he was talking about, and he was like talking about like consciousness and how important of a role that plays in like understanding the phenomenon. And he was also talking about like this secret military base footage of like a UAP landing and like a Air Force base and like beings walking out. And then another bit of footage where like there was like a nuclear warhead going up into space and being recorded, and then a UAP popped in, shot a few lasers at it, and it caused the nuclear warhead to be disarmed and start falling from the sky. So all that was really interesting. And yeah, I arrived home. I greeted my mom, our family friend. I reheated some chicken legs that were left for me, um, and in the air fryer at 350 degrees for around 6 minutes. And yeah, I had that with some pineapple slices and pineapple juice, which was really refreshing. I don't know why, but I was really in the mood for some fruity juice, and the pineapple juice really hit the spot. And then after that, I decided from all the Area 52 listening after finishing eating to do a 30-minute meditation. And I did that, and it was pretty interesting. I just started to get a little drowsy by the end. My head started to like lean forward like this uncontrollably, like I was about to drift off to sleep. So I thought that was pretty interesting. And yeah, I eventually decided to go, and I was getting ready for bed. As I was going to bed, I decided to listen to the Electric Piper, an old Nickelodeon cartoon song, When They Come Home, which I really like the sound of that one. Something about it's like really warm and cozy, and but somber at the same time. Um, and then another one I listened to was the Electric Piper pre-complete musical record, where it was a lot of songs that were in their earlier stages before they reached their final completed stage. And it was really interesting to hear the earlier versions because I had only known the final releases of the songs for that particular cartoon movie. And so hearing those older versions of those songs, specifically the I Smell a Rat song, which is the last one I listened to before bowing out, was pretty compelling, pretty interesting. I really was fascinated by the changes they made. Um, One of the more interesting changes was the fact that the Rodney Dangerfield rat character, in that unfinished version sounded like he was actually singing, whereas in the final version of the cartoon movie, he sounds like he's just talk singing the words, where you don't like actually sing them, but you're like just saying them in sort of the same tone as you would if you were singing them, if that makes any sense. It's pretty interesting seeing the difference between the two. Yeah. Personally, I think I might have liked the original incomplete version before the one that was used in the final one, because it sounds like Rodney Dangerfield's actually trying to give a decent performance. Yeah, and then the YouTube comments were saying rest in peace Guy Moon, because Guy Moon sadly passed away due to an unfortunate car accident. And he was like still really young too. He was like in his mid to late 50s. It's like, gosh dang, so many of these childhood heroes and like dying like from freak accidents or unknown like causes that no one could have like expected them to succumb to. It's like, dang. Steven Hillenberg with ALS, and now Guy Moon with a car accident. I guess it just goes to show you never know when it's your time. So live each day like it's your last by continuing to move forward and never giving up on your dreams. And then after that, I found this video that was recommended to me called like The Wizard and the something or other. I forget what it was. Just The Wizard, but it's not that Nintendo movie, The Wizard. It was a really long title. All I remember is the first two words, The Wizard. But this was a really creative and fun movie that I honestly wasn't anticipating. It was recommended to me, and I decided to watch a little bit of it before I hit the record button for this video, because I needed to use the restroom, and I decided to watch something while doing that to pass the time. And this was a really fun movie. It was like about, I haven't finished, I'm like 22 minutes into like an hour and 20-minute film. But it's basically about these executives who are trying to find a good special effects wizard to create like wrappings for their like show they want to do. And one of the executives finds these demo reel of this like guy's really creative and outlandish work, and he decides to give him a contact to see if he's willing to come over and share more of his work with him. And the guy accepts, but then he's constantly being put through the ringer. He says he needs to like join unions, but like the unions have rules, and those other unions have rules, and it becomes like a labyrinthian nightmare to navigate. And like he's living with his mom, and he had to sell like his car, and like like he's really down as like in terms of like his living situation. But all he has is like these ideas that he wants to be creative and explore like the mind. And I just think it's a really fun, admirable film about like following your dreams and not letting negativity get in the way of progress. I think that's pretty awesome. But anyways, when I was done doing my business, I of course made sure to brush my teeth, used the prescribed mouthwash. I'm almost done with it, thankfully. And then I went here to record my update video. So that's pretty much the long and short of it. Overall, I would say that today was a day of stress, focus, listening to your own inner world through meditation, and taking care of business and staying strong in the face of adversity, I suppose. So yeah, that's gonna do it for today. Thank you for tuning in, and I'll see you tomorrow in the next video. Good night, everybody, and take care. Bye. Goodbye.